Hi everyone, welcome back. Today Babula and I are with you together, not on Zoom because we had a fun morning with technology which didn't work for us. So she's actually with me in the flesh,
Yay!
Which is lovely.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So and we've been having a pre-record chat, and there's a lot going on. Again, it's been a very busy month, hasn't it? So why don't you kick us off with just start at the beginning and let it all unravel.
Okay, it seems to be the year of unraveling.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course, you know, in my jumping in the car and dashing over here to sit with you, I left my notes at home. So I think what that brings up is that we're doing this on behalf of the eclipse that's coming up, and the new moon, of course, on the 15th.
Mm.
So we're pre-recording this a little ahead of that. So on the 15th, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. Oh no, I beg your pardon, I'm looking at the wrong part of my notes. On the 30th, I'm jumping ahead to the solar eclipse, the new moon. On the 30th, we have the lunar eclipse, full moon. My apologies for that. So the full moon is coming up across that 8 degrees of Gemini Sagittarius axis. So you're probably all aware that the sun is now in Sagittarius. So we'll have a nice look at the sign of Sag, which is delightful for, I nearly called you by somebody else's name.
Just don't call me whoopsie.
Delightful.
Babula said it's a whoopsie morning, and it really is.
Yeah, so we're a little silly at the moment because it has been a little whoopsie. But right then at that full moon, and I will speak more about the full moon eclipse story, literally the day before, Neptune is stationary and turning direct. So that means that for the few days before the actual date of its stationary point, and for some days after, so around that whole week, Neptune is literally slowed right down, and it's a slow-moving planet anyway, very slow-moving. But Neptune has just come to a halt, from our perspective, looking up in the sky anyway. Planets don't actually stop and change direction.
No, they don't.
Thankfully, they don't. But from where we sit on Earth, that's what appears to happen, but it has an impact. And I've spoken before of when planets are stationary and about to change direction, their presence is very, very strongly felt. It really seems to have an impact, like that energy is really magnified. And when Neptune is very present or having a strong influence at any time, we can feel confused. Things get weird, strange. They don't make sense. Like it was my computer and Zoom. It just was not letting me into the chat room. It just wasn't letting me in, and none of it made any sense. I just couldn't figure out what the problem was.
Yes.
And
but then you forgot your notes.
And then I forgot the notes.
But that could be a bit of Gemini influence.
That's right.
Yes.
So there's all this kind of Neptune, Gemini, Sagittarius, and very mutable energy around, which can feel a little bit confusing and scattered, and it's hard for us to be really focused and really sort of think straight. You know, it's all very intuitive and very fluid, and luckily neither Sheryl or I had anything kind of booked and sort of scheduled straight after this, so we were able to just be really loose. And she said, well, come on over, because I don't live too far away, a couple of suburbs away. Okay, let's do that. And so we've just had to be really fluid, and that's what Neptune's all about. Neptunian people, Piscean people, which, you know, the planet Neptune rules Pisces, it's got a lot to do with being fluid.
Yes, and I like that.
It's beautiful.
I like it because you just jump on and you go, okay, here we go.
And
there.
It's literally going with the flow.
Yes.
But it can also feel overwhelming, tiring, exhausting, bewildering, like, oh, what's happening now?
Yeah.
You know, it can be very much like that, but we really do have to loosen up Stay really fluid, be very adaptable,
Yes.
and also recognize that we might be feeling a lot more tired. I mean, I think a lot of people are exhausted as we come to the end of this year. Anyway, overwhelmed, over it, you know, those kinds of feelings.
And the
come up.
battery's sort of down here,
The battery's
isn't it? It's nearly
down.
running out of bed. And,
That's right.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're getting a good night's sleep, you might wake up just feeling like, oh, do I really have to get out of bed kind of
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
So as much as possible, if we can make space, I know I say this at different times, and I know it's not always practical or easy to do it with whatever's going on in your life, but where possible, just to take time out, you know, to be, to relax, to meditate, to sit and gaze at the tree and do nothing else, whatever.
To play a gong.
To play a gong, there's this beautiful big gong here in the room. To immerse ourselves. Like, I came to that beautiful sound bath the other night here. That is such a Neptunian space where you lie down, and two beautiful divine women are just, Sheryl and Lyra, are just playing all of these incredible sound instruments, and it's literally called a bath, and it is that. So anything like that that's available to you, it's a beautiful time to be having massage. This is a really good time to be seeing your healers. You know, anybody that you know helps you to diffuse, de-stress, disentangle, take care of yourselves. You know, it's a very kind of shaky, vulnerable, sensitive time, but it can also be profoundly beautiful. You know, because things open up with Neptune. You know, it can open us up to really, really subtle dimensions, the divine. You know, just surrender, keep letting go, letting go, letting go. It's very easy for us to say those words. It's not always that easy for us to do. If we even do surrender, you know, is surrender something we even do, or is it something that just we allow to happen?
Well, one small example is we finally got collected today, sat down, and then began recording, and someone started mowing the lawn.
That's right.
And we went, oh, well.
That's right.
Just go with it.
Just go with it, because that's exactly what it's like. And it's like we're in this kind of watery realm of things aren't always going to go the way we're planning them, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But it's quite a big...
It's an acceptance, isn't it?
Very much.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
And... you know, for that part of all of we humans who like to feel like we're in control of things, Neptune's the influence that says, you really sure about that?
Yeah.
Try this.
Yeah.
You know? Because I was using Zoom with clients yesterday, all day yesterday, no problems. Why this morning not? I've no idea. So...
It's the planets.
It's the planets. So, and I couldn't blame it on Mercury retrograde, because
No, I was
no
thinking,
longer is.
how's Mercury doing that?
No, it's not him. It's this Neptune influence, you know. And so on the 30th, you know, we've been doing these sessions together every 2 weeks, new moon, full moon, new moon, full moon. Every 6 months, many of you will know this, but some of you may not, that every 6 months, the new and full moon become a lunar and solar eclipse. So that's, I got that back to front. The new moon is the solar eclipse, and the full moon, which we're actually coming up to on the 30th, the full moon is a lunar eclipse. The sun and the moon are opposite each other in the sky, and they align roughly with the nodes. So the north and south nodes are in Gemini and Sagittarius, and have been all year.
So when you talk about lunar eclipse, that energy, it lasts on so many months, doesn't it?
It does.
The energy.
It's influence, because they happen every 6 months.
Yes.
The influence of the lunar and solar eclipse actually do remain with us for some months to come, and then they sort of peter out as we come into the next eclipses 6 months later.
Right, okay.
But they do mark important moments, and they're often catalysts for dramatic events. And in the across the Gemini Sagittarius axis, with Neptune squaring the nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius, well, things can become very unpredictable, very loose, very shape-shifting is a wonderful Neptune word to me. You know, things are shape-shifting. And the other thing about Neptune is very much about dreams and illusions and fantasies and delusions and disappointments. Like what is real? All the smoke screens and, you know, trying to find our way through all those layers and veils, you know, the veils of illusion and fantasy. And we're all full of illusions and fantasies. And when our favourite illusions are shattered, it can be quite painful and heartbreaking, actually. And it's a lot. So I think there's a lot of that going on as well. But this eclipse, this lunar eclipse full moon, it's like, you know, a full moon on steroids, as someone said years ago, and I've always loved that. It is. It's like the full moon energy is now really amped up because it's an eclipse, and it becomes really strong. Gemini, the sign of the messenger, information, words, ideas, communications. With an eclipse like this, there can be on that date and around that date messages, information in our personal life. You know, the phone call that you go, oh my God, you know, it changes everything, or just a wonderful phone call from someone you haven't heard of for ages, and you find yourself arranging to have coffee with an old friend, and it's wonderful. You know, it can be any kinds of things like this, but
well, Gemini can be a bit gossipy too, can't
absolutely.
it? Because my mum is in aged care, and so whenever I see her, she tells me all the gossip of what's going on in the aged care residence.
Exactly.
And she's a Gemini.
And she's a Gemini.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Because we're very curious about everything in Gemini, aren't we?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, and we want to know everything.
And wants to be in the loop.
That's
wants
right.
to be kept in the loop.
Because it's about connection.
Yes.
This sign.
Yes.
You know, and so the moon, at that eclipse, the moon will be in Gemini in opposition to the sun in Sag. So the sun is now in Sagittarius. So let's talk about Sagittarius. So happy birthday this month for all the beautiful Sagittarians. I know many of them, and many of them are teachers, astrology teachers, all kinds of teachers. In Gemini, in Sagittarius, I beg your pardon, we, you know, again, it's that polarity. I talk a lot about the polarity of the signs opposite each other. These two signs are about information and knowledge. You'll see often both of these strongs very active and prominent in the charts of writers, authors, people who work in the media, journalists, radio hosts. You know, this, what we're doing here now, we're sitting and having this conversation, and it'll go out to people. It's a very Gemini Sagittarius, and you do a lot of that, and you're very Gemini Sag.
I've got Sun in Sag and Moon in Gemini,
That's
so
right.
This is my time.
It's your time. This is your eclipse.
Yes, and Aquarius rising, which is coming.
It's exactly. So it's and Sheryl does a lot of this. You know, these meetings and conversations and interviews with people and gatherings of people. It's very much what this axis is all about. And so there may be with that during this eclipse and with presence of Neptune as well, a few meltdowns on social media, in the media. There might be a bit of mayhem and confusion and mixed messages, and she said, but he said, well, which one's which? And
and a lot of information too, you know, like it's juggling of information, because Sagittarius likes knowledge, but Gemini can be quite scattered with it.
Well, yeah, so the difference between them is super interesting. So Gemini is like the bee in the garden, you know, busy, going to all the beautifully coloured flowers and picking up pollen, and then taking up pollen on its feet to the next flower, beautiful flower that it sees, and it's passing on and literally fertilizing flowers. But Geminis are like that. They move from person to person to person, and all the while they're picking up bits of information, but they're passing them on as well. Geminis love to share information and inform and gather information. In Sagittarius, Sag says, I've got all this information, what does it actually mean? Sagittarius, and it's not that either sign is better or more superior in any way, it's just that in Sagittarius we're looking for some higher meaning, you know, the philosophical
Yes,
understanding
exactly.
of all this. I've collected all this data.
Yes, yeah. What's the truth of it?
Now, how do I sift through all of that? So the Gemini does the collecting of the data, you know, and find what the actual meaning and the truth of what this is actually about, you know, and that's why you'll see these two signs so active in areas like journalism and media and so on. But there's a lot of misinformation in the world we live in many areas of life and in many different forms of media, etc., etc., etc. So these themes are really up for us now with the nodes this year and well into next year in Gemini and Sagittarius. And on this lunar eclipse, the full moon across Gemini, Sag, and then 2 weeks later, on the 15th, we'll have the new moon solar eclipse at 23 degrees of Sagittarius. So we're well and truly in that story now. You know, and Gemini is the storyteller. And one of the ways I've seen this very often is that, like, Gemini will often be the teacher of young children, like teaching children the amazing things of learning to read, learning to write, learning to communicate, learning how to learning how to use numbers and all of these things, you know, and to form social connections. And, you know, kids at school, they make contacts and connections with each other. And in Sagittarius, and this is just, it's not strictly this, but just as an idea, we go to university, for example, or we study astrology, or we study these ancient spiritual texts, or whatever it is, because now that I've learnt how to do all these things, now I want to take it here and find out what it all means and what it's all about.
Yeah.
You see? So that's
interesting.
So Gemini is the wordsmith, amazing skill with words, language and so on, and Sagittarius is sort of the philosopher, really, the philosopher teacher. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the energy field that we're in, you know. So when you can relate to all of that, this has probably been the story of your life.
It is.
Exactly.
Yes. Always looking for the deeper meaning of things.
That's right.
I can read a whole lot of books which you sometimes see in the background of the Zoom, and then I go, well, what does that mean? No, you know, what all that information. What does it mean that these words are here and I've read it? But let me distill.
That's right.
Distill from that the nuggets, the gold nuggets from it.
That's right. And both signs, because they're mutable signs, then want to share it and give it out to people in the world, you know. Yeah. So that's right. And of course Sagittarius is a sign of travel.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Gemini is more how we zip and zap around our locale on a daily basis, you know, like go to the shops, go to this meeting, have an appointment, go to work, you know, we're commuting on the train, we're in the traffic, the busyness of day-to-day life. And Sagittarius is heading for the airport.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. Or the open road, like just put me on the open road and let me go. Yeah. Because it's a very, very big energy and a big spacious energy. Yeah. Geminis often love city life. Sages are more drawn to the country because it needs big space, you see.
Exactly. When I was a child, I lived on a cattle station for 2 years.
Exactly.
And I look back now that I understand astrology a bit better, and I know that I did, loved it. Yes. And I know that I would have loved it even more than I can remember. Yes. You know, that's right. As a child.
Open space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's right. Yeah. So that's just so interesting, and so that's
and I like both because with Sun in Sag and Moon in Gemini, I love the city. I consider myself a city girl, but I love being in the country. But I love overseas travel.
That's right. Because in Gemini we love the buzz of city life and the of it, you know.
And the ability to access things quickly.
But absolutely.
Yeah. The practical nature of living in a city.
That's right. Yeah. And being able to, you know, meet a friend in an
instant, basically.
In an instant, exactly.
Or when Zoom doesn't work.
Exactly. You know, jump in the car and here I am. That's right. So the show must go on. So here we are. But it's so interesting that I mean, really, from now through to the end of 2020, there's a lot of big things happening, a lot of shifts happening, and this Neptune station, because Neptune's been retrograde for the last 5 and a bit months, and you will have heard us speak before, those of you who've seen these previous ones. You know, we went through a big chunk of the year when a lot of planets were in retrograde motion. Now, that's not unusual. These planets, these outer planets are retrograde every year for 4 or 5 months. But one by one, they've recently been turning direct. So, and when that happens, it's like that energy now goes, okay, now we're ready to move forward. And so Neptune, this energy that connects us to another aspect of it, is to the realm of spirit and spirituality and our connection to the divine and the mystery of life and to soul. That energy is going to start really moving over these coming weeks, right around these eclipses. You know, across, it's all going on in these mutable signs, and they're all interconnected with each other. So shifting sands, information moving really, really fast, shape shifting. I thought it was that. No, it's this. Constantly, like almost like water. You know, water and air moving. So it's just helpful to know that that's the energetic field that we're in now. You
and
know?
understanding that mythology of Neptune rising out of the ocean.
That's right.
With his trident.
Exactly.
You know, it's very much a watery sign.
Very. And Neptune was Pisces, which is very much about the seas and the oceans and the, you know, the waters. Now, Mercury himself, the planet that rules or governs Gemini, is currently still in Scorpio, so there's still that kind of deep detective research process going on mentally for us. But on the 2nd of December, so just after this eclipse, Neptune will go into Sagittarius. Mercury goes into Sagittarius as well.
Ooh.
I think you'll enjoy that.
I hope so.
So
I've been writing a lot.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will be. You've been writing a lot. And so when planets come out of Scorpio and go into Sagittarius, it's like they climb up out of the underworld and go, oh, wow. You know, everything opens out and there's a horizon and there's a sense of that energy now can move forth and speak the truth of whatever you experience while Mercury was going in Scorpio. Because Mercury in Scorpio, we're digging, we're researching, we're being like detectives.
Yes.
You know, in all sorts of ways. And Sagittarius is a sign of truth. Sages are truth speakers. Those of you who are Sages who are watching this,
I'm a terrible liar.
Or not,
it's right on my face.
They cannot.
Yeah, I just stopped lying years ago.
Yes, it's just too stressful, isn't
Although the white lies, when you're trying to save someone's feelings, they don't always go across well either.
No, that's right. Sagittarius is compelled to speak truth. It's the sign of the truth seeker, the truth, always looking for the truth. And I have many Sagittarian friends who'll often just blurt things out and they say, oops, foot in mouth again, and they'll do that because things just come out. But that's what it's what it's going to be like. Now the sun is here. When Mercury comes here, these eclipses are here. Really, there's going to be a lot going on in the public arena and in our own personal lives. And it could be that thing that you've been processing, and all of a sudden you can't hold it in anymore and you have to speak it.
Yes.
And out it comes. Because Sag, of course, is the centaur shooting the arrows, and it's the arrows of truth. And we fling those arrows and let's hope that they don't cause too much harm. But it is that sense of, I have to speak what is true for me.
Yes.
And it's not even a thought for Sagittarius. They don't even have a process where they stop and think, will I say that or not? It's just out of their mouth. There's no...
I did that on the weekend. then I apologised immediately because it just did not come out properly.
Right.
It was rude.
So it's instantaneous.
I didn't have a thought.
There's no thought.
It was like a reaction. Boom.
Yes, it's absolutely spontaneous in the moment.
Yes.
Which is a beautiful thing, but yes, and then there's, I wonder if I should have said that.
So if it happens, don't worry, apologies don't really hurt. Just make sure that they're quick.
That's right, right then and there.
Yes.
That's when you catch it. So, the other thing, because I haven't got my notes, I pulled up the chart of the day on my phone just in case I needed a quick little reference. There was a few things. Jupiter and Saturn are slowly making their way to the end of Capricorn.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly. And towards the end of December, I'm going to touch on this now, but we'll speak a lot more about this in the coming weeks. But I want to start bringing it in because this is really big in the astrological world, and some of you will be aware of it already. On December the 17th, Saturn will leave Capricorn, where it's been for 2.5 years. And there will be a collective sigh around the planet as the world goes,
oh, wow.
Oh, we made it, I think. And then 2 days later, Jupiter will leave Capricorn and go into Aquarius as well. So Jupiter and Saturn, within 2 days of each other, leave, and Jupiter's been there for 1 year, Saturn's been there for 2.5 years, will leave Capricorn, and it has been quite heavy going.
Yes. Bulldozer.
Yes. And they will go into the sign of Aquarius, and 2 days later on the 21st we have this really super important solstice. And there's a number of other things prior and soon after that as well, but they are the powerful key things that are coming up. And what happens when we're leading up to a really important event astrologically, there's this, in the lead up, things can get pretty intense. You know, because it's like, it's almost like the planets are saying, okay, we haven't got much time left, we've got to complete this job.
Yes.
You know, we've got to really make sure we
getting closer to the use by date.
The use by date. We've got to make sure we've done what we were meant to do in this sign. You know, if we want to give them like characters, and which I think is a really helpful thing to do. And some would say, well, these planets are great beings, and I think that's so. But it can get quite intense as they complete their job, if you like, their function, their purpose in the sign of Capricorn. And of course, Capricorn, it's about many, many things. We could do, you know, a whole session just on each sign, but you know, it is about systems and structures and organisations, including worldly, you know, political, economic, all the systems and structures, but in our own lives as well. So what are the systems and structures of our own life, and what have we all been confronted with, and what's working and what's not working? And that this has been huge for everybody all year.
Yeah.
When they leave Capricorn and go into Aquarius, leaving Pluto behind for a couple of years to finish off the job in Cap, and then he'll leave in a few years' time.
I think that's when I'll come out of my cave.
You probably will. Although maybe a bit more next year too.
Yeah, okay.
And so it's a tremendous shift of energy, and we'll talk more about that as probably next time we'll talk more, and then in December we'll absolutely open that up, because it's very, very important for a lot of reasons. It's not just that they change signs, because Jupiter does that every 12 months. Saturn does it roughly every 2.5 years. So planets changing signs happens all the time, but this one is of particular importance. And the fact they're doing it together, they will be conjunct. These two planets are conjunct every 20 years in different signs, but it's even bigger than that. You know, this is something here important about even bigger cycles with these two planets. And
so that's like a watershed moment.
It is,
isn't it?
It
where
is.
things will change, but they may not change explosively, but they could.
Yes, or immediately.
Yeah.
But they also
It'll be a
could,
big change.
because it's also happening at the solstice, and it's a very important, potent solstice with these two planets at 0 degrees of Aquarius together. So it's, and there are a lot of people from different areas, a lot of Indigenous people around the world have been preparing for this solstice for a long time.
Yes, they have, yeah.
They have. And many other people in spiritual traditions have been speaking of this time as well. So it's like we're coming into this important phase now. I mean, the entire year has been important. And right now we're coming into this important piece of it at the end of the year with these eclipses, which is always a potent time. You know, we call it eclipse season. So every 6 months we come into eclipse season, and we're in that now.
Yeah.
And with this eclipse season, in the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius, with Neptune squaring it all, we also have this really important, momentous Saturn-Jupiter conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius at the solstice. I mean, it's really very significant. And so what I'm seeing, and a lot of you watching this I mean, I'm hearing it from people everywhere too, clients, friends, family. I'm just seeing it and hearing it everywhere. All year, and even more now, people are going through critical issues, making critical decisions about their relationships, their health. For me, I've had some health issues that I've spoken of before around dentistry, and I simply cannot put it off any longer, and it's quite major to me, and it's just time to get it done. But that's it, I'm doing it. And now I just can't wait to get it done. And I've been putting it off for so long. Like, I'm so ready. And so relationships, our health, our work, our employment, our finances, our sense of life purpose, a sense of who am I, why did I come here in this incarnation, like what's life all about, what do I believe, what do I don't believe, what's true, what's not. Like, it's momentous. It's a momentous watershed time for every living soul on this planet. And we're all on this planet in very different circumstances, you know, whether depending where we live.
Yes.
But everyone's being, in whatever walk of life, being faced with these. It's a momentous time. And it's all a part of this big transition, of course, into the Aquarian age, a shift of dimensions from the 3rd to the 5th dimension and beyond. A lot of things at play here in all areas of life.
Yeah.
So this important Gemini Sagittarius energy that's so active right now is an important part of that. The other thing I want to say about Sagittarius that must be said.
Oh, I hope it's good.
It's really good. This is a good time to have some fun.
Yes.
Isn't
it? Yes, it is. Yeah, and I love December. I always love December.
Yes.
Because I have my birthday.
Yes.
We have Christmas.
Exactly.
We have
and
holiday
parties
time
and holidays.
socialising. It's just the best time of
And
year.
in previous years, I don't know what it'll be like this year, but in previous years, like even I've noticed, and going down the shops, the local shops, are my favourite activity, but I've noticed right up to like that last week before Christmas, even going into a supermarket, for example, there's just this vibe of happiness in the air. Like people just get happy.
Yeah.
So I used to often say when I was going through some really challenging periods, as we all do, like, I'm coming back as a Sagittarius next time. They have more fun than anybody else. Don't they?
Well, I have fun.
You do.
I don't know if I have more fun than anyone else.
Because it's the sign that fundamentally sees life through a very positive lens.
Yes, that's true, the rose-coloured glasses, but you've got to be careful that you keep them clean.
That's true.
And you have clarity about what you're seeing.
That's right, but it's not a fantasy rose-coloured glasses like Pisces can have.
No, it's an
That's my
optimistic.
department.
It's an optimism.
It's an optimism. It's a natural, innate optimism and a positivity that says, it's going to be all right. I know this is really difficult right now. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
In fact, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Because it opens up this big view, this big vista, and it's ruled by Jupiter. It's fundamentally positive, and nobody knows how to party like a Sagittarian. hats off to
Well,
all my wonderful Sagittarian friends, and a lot of them are teachers and astrologers.
there are some photos that I've had to make private on my Facebook page.
That's right. Wild dress-up parties.
Yes. Oh, love dressing up.
They love
Yes.
dressing. You can always, if you throw a dress-up party, your Sagittarian friends are going to
True.
absolutely go to town
Yes.
and be the life of the party.
Yeah, I just love fancy costume events because I've been as a witch, I've been as Star Trek personnel.
Of course you have.
Of course I have, as a space cadet. I've done all those type of things, you know. So I've seen so
Exactly.
many I can't remember now. Asian woman. I think I won an event at a community hall near where my dad lived, and was dressed as an Eastern couple with my husband at the time, and
Yes.
all sorts of things. I
That's
love
right.
it.
You love it. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Because Sagittarius loves other cultures too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's an energy that loves to uplift and inspire. It's a highly inspiring. So another theme during this time is what inspires you, and how do you inspire other people and
Yes. encourage
encourage and uplift, particularly if you have something, planets in Sagittarius in your chart. You may or may not, but you just being around Sagittarians, you can feel inspired and uplifted. You know, you hang out with the Sag for a couple of hours and you come away feeling like, that feels better, that was fun. You know, it lifts our spirit.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of laughing that goes on, and it's
Yeah.
play, and it's good. And Gemini has a wonderful wit, you know, a clever, fun. My beloved son is a Gemini with Sagittarius rising. He's always the life of the party, and he always turns up with a game that everybody can play just to get things moving. Sometimes they're very cheeky and naughty, but
Yes.
everybody has a good time.
Yeah. Love games. Just played paranormal trivia. It was fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was great. There is actually a game called Paranormal
Invite
Trivia.
me next time.
Yeah, I will.
So that's a really helpful and important piece of this Sagittarius. We're in the Sagittarius season now, and even though it's been a grim, challenging, difficult, but also in many ways amazing, wonderful year, let's not forget that in many ways for many, so having a wonderful conversation with a healer that I regularly see the other day, and she said, yeah, she knows people have gone through a lot. She sees them every day, but she says, my God, it's been amazing. It's been wonderful too. So there hasn't. So, but this is a good opportunity to like let our hair down a bit. Sagittarius is something a bit wild about this energy that I remember. It's a fire sign. Gemini is air, so it operates more in the mental sphere. Sagittarius is fire. And fire is more about the actual energy and the experience. Sagittarius says, I don't want to read about it in a book, I want to go and do it. I want to live it, I want to experience it, and then I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So both those signs can work together magnificently, but that's how they're different.
I actually think it's interesting if you look at the different types of language that the different signs
Yes.
use, because I often use ignite in advertising, when I'm giving a presentation. I will say things like, what is it that ignites your soul? That sort of thing. And I think that's a very Sagittarian thing.
It
to
is, because
say.
it's like lighting a fire,
Yes,
isn't it? A
yes.
spark of flame.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
And you know, even though it's a fire sign, so we think its colours would naturally be warm, and they do often gravitate to warm colours and bright colours. But I discovered years ago the favourite colour that I used to notice that all these Sagittarians was purple. They are mad about purple.
Yes.
Isn't
Love
that
it.
amazing?
Yes.
And
Well,
it's that royal purple.
Yes,
You know?
yes. There was a time, probably about 20 years ago, for 10 years, that was all I wore. But I was also going through a lot of transformation,
Yes.
and that royal purple,
Yes.
royal violet is a colour of transformation.
Yes.
These days I tend to go more towards the blue with the
And
communication
the Aquarius.
and the turquoise, because I just, more of the Aquarian energy. And I guess maybe because I'm Aquarius rising, so as I get older,
Yes.
I'm going more into that energy.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Mm.
That's right. But as you were saying that too, we're talking about the you mentioned the word violet. You know, the violet flame of Saint Germain might be something some of you might want to look into. You know, it is a way of working with that energy, and there are meditations available on that. It's a violet flame. It's beautiful, like purple, and it's not what we would normally think of as the colour of fire or a flame.
It's a transmutation.
Yes, it is very much a powerful and transmutational energy. So that could be something that might be helpful for some of you to explore or work
Actually,
with in some
my
way.
late husband was a student of St Germain's group here in Brisbane. Yeah,
Wow,
had been for
fantastic.
40 odd years.
Fantastic.
So it's interesting how we resonate to people.
Yes,
You know, we come into their orb
definitely.
and spend time together.
definitely. So if that's of interest, you could you'd very easily find meditations online with the purple flame. Just search it.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to say the G word, but I don't like to even use that word anymore.
Let's just say the Great Spirit.
The Great Spirit.
Which is what I like
The
to say.
Great Spirit search engine. Online. That's right. That's right. No, I meant the G word in technology.
She didn't mean God.
No, I can.
Okay.
I'll very easily speak the word God. That's fine for me. It's not funny.
The G word.
The G word. Actually, there's somewhere else I want to go. Not having my original, very carefully prepared notes in front of me of exact dates and timing. I want to touch on Mars, which I've spoken of a lot in the last months because he's been so active and prominent. He's direct now and is now beginning to pick up speed since he turned direct a few weeks ago. He's starting to get moving. So he's still in his own sign of Aries, but he's on the move. So he's not yet finished. We're not yet finished with Mars, the god of war, mythologically speaking. So there's still this fiery, feisty, red-hot energy of conflict, of battle going on. And it truly is. It's not always necessarily a battle that involves guns and bombs and so on, but there's never a lack of that on this planet.
No.
But we can get so triggered, our anger and that fiery hot Mars energy can get so very easily triggered if somebody says something that we categorically disagree with, or that argument, that clashing that can spark and ignite actual battle and conflict, in the physical.
Well, the latest one is about air travel.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Exactly.
I have had so many people just saying, getting a vaccine before you can travel, get a flight? No. Not even any conversation, just no.
Not happening. Not
happening.
No.
So there's another battle.
That's right. So there's a lot of this going on, and we're seeing this also, of course, in the US with the election and so on. That's an ongoing battle that we're a long way from seeing the end of that story yet.
Yes. We'll go on for a while.
But so that is still playing out, and from memory, he doesn't move out of Aries until early January. So all the way through this period, that I've just been speaking about with the eclipses and the shift out of Capricorn into Aquarius with 2 planets and the solstice, Mars continues to be hot-blooded and active in Aries.
Yeah.
And of course, those of you who know your chart and have a copy of your chart and track these things, you can see exactly where that is in your own chart and your own story. But the other thing I wanted to touch on, how are we going for time? I've no idea.
I think we're fine.
Okay, we'll carry on.
Another 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
That just gives me an idea. So I'm glad we've got a little bit of time because I haven't spoken much this year at all about the planet Uranus, which moved into Taurus. I said Aquarius because he's the Aquarian planet, but Uranus moved into Taurus in 2018. And I've done a couple of talks and lectures on this very thing because I'm very interested in the journey of Uranus through Taurus for 7 years. And Uranus is going, because it hasn't been very much activated this year. Its presence is there. It's been absolutely here, but it's not been activated by other planets. It hasn't been the main story. in 2021, Uranus comes in strongly. And I love the timing because it's right on time as Saturn and Jupiter move through Aquarius. So that Aquarian energy is getting really going to come in. But right now, something very interesting is going on. Uranus right now is at 7 degrees of Taurus. It's been moving across those few degrees all year. The Black Moon Lilith is at 3 degrees Taurus. Not long ago she moved into Taurus and she spends 9 months in a sign. Now the Black Moon Lilith is a very potent energy that's, I never find it easy to speak about it in a simple way. I just give a quick definition of it because it's an energetic, experiential thing really, but it's about the power and potency of the divine feminine. In different cultures, she's known as Kali Ma, the Black Mother in India, a very revered goddess. The dark goddesses of many, many cultures, the Dark Mother, the Black Madonnas of Christianity, Mary Magdalene would be represented by this energy. And it's got a lot to do with how the authentic power and truth of the feminine itself has been kept in the shadows for a long time. And it's coming through now and has been for some years. And so more astrologers are working with the Black Moon Lilith energy, and I discovered it some years ago and it immediately got my attention. And then when I found out where it was in my chart, I thought, no wonder it got my attention. So I've been working very strongly with it ever since. And as it's now in Taurus for these 9 months, the themes related to the feminine, how the feminine has been repressed and denied and diminished and abused, and I'm including women, Mother Earth, and the dark indigenous races and peoples of this world. I'm including all of that when I speak of the feminine. That's how I see that. In Taurus, it's about a connection to earth, to nature, to land, to soil, to trees, to the abundance of the earth who provides enough for every living soul on this planet. And Taurus is also a money sign, so it's got a lot to do with money and finances, and how all of that has been siphoned up for a long time now, and now it's extreme, siphoned up to this top of the pyramid. Right up here at this little pinprick, all the resources and finances are all sitting up here. Yeah, and people have got various access and amounts at different levels, and down here the bulk of the people are scrambling around trying to find food to feed their children. That is so wrong. And then in the Aquarian view of life, that is 100% wrong.
Yes.
That's not on.
Aquarius wants to turn that pyramid up the other way.
Completely. Completely. Yeah. So Uranus, the planet of disruption, change, chaos, revolution, and a complete shift of consciousness, rules Aquarius, is in Taurus, a very earthy sign, and I will definitely be talking more about that next year when this starts to really get activated. But I'm really interested in watching now as the Black Moon Lilith over the coming 2 to 3 months, 2 months actually, gets closer and closer to Uranus, and is actually, she's already close to Uranus. So the feminine is coming into play here. And when we reconnect with this energy of her and do a lot of deep healing work around that story, then we reconnect with our own truth and empowerment as the feminine, both in men and women, by the way. This isn't just about women. It's about in Taurus, it's what is my relationship with the earth, and how, to what extent am I disconnected from that? And what do I do about that? You know, look, it's actually painful to be disconnected. We have become, as cultures and societies, we've become so disconnected to that. And the indigenous peoples who've maintained their connection are calling us to listen, you know, and understand. And so we're going to see a lot playing out, but also around finances, banking systems, economic systems, and the complete corruption of all of that. So we're going to see a lot unfold in, you know, environmentally, Earth, Gaia, This is also about the awakening of Gaia herself with Uranus, because Uranus is the great awakener. In Taurus, 7 years, this is about her awakening and the awakening of whoever on the human plane amongst humanity is ready to awaken with her. The shift of dimensions and consciousness. So that's a really important piece here that we will absolutely talk more about as that really energy starts to come in, as this Aquarian energy starts to really activate.
So we're going to have a very long conversation in 2021.
I think so.
We've had a long one this year.
I think so. We have. And next year is different.
Different, yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's, because I mean a lot of people are saying, what's going to happen next year? They're looking to astrologers, what's next year? It's very different energetically. It's very different. This year was about bringing it all to this point of, here it is.
Yeah.
This is what's happened. This is what's been going on. It's in our face. And from here on in, it's a change of energy, but it doesn't mean that it's all going to magically and instantly all be okay. No. But it's going to change, and it's the beginning of the changes, the good, really positive changes that are to come, but it doesn't magically happen overnight.
It requires work.
There's a lot that has to happen for us to get there.
Yeah,
so we've had a lot that has to happen.
We've had the initial explosion.
That's right.
But then with that comes all the rocks going out.
That's right.
And banging against each other, the dust.
That's right.
And some of that, the fine dust particularly, can take a long time to settle.
Long time. And there's a lot that is still to be broken down and dismantled and revealed and uncovered. And for each of us, that's a big process too, as we come to terms with a lot of things, you know?
I think this year, because of the situation, how it's affected people with their jobs and their finances, and people who've had to give up mortgages and homes and all that, and move back home to their parents because they couldn't afford the rent, they'd lost their job, all those things. There's been a real weighing up of what I want against what I actually need.
That's right.
Hasn't there?
That's right.
Yeah, so there's this real balancing, reevaluation of the balance in our lives.
About what's actually essential here. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And how have I been wasting time, energy, money over here when actually I've honed it down, I'm so much more clear about what's actually important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're going to run with that next year and see where that takes us, aren't we?
Right. That's right.
So while this is all happening on the world stage, it's all happening internally
it's all happening
to us.
Internally inside of us, but also in our personal domain, you know, with our relationships with people, our family, our friends, our work colleagues and workmates. And, you know, many people are finding a lot of that is changing this year and that they're making new connections with new people.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you know, I've known Sheryl for years, but this year we have just...
A long time.
A long time. But boy, we've seen a lot of each other this year, and it's been fantastic. It's like a reignition of a whole new kind of dynamic and relationship with us. And that's happening a lot for people too. Yeah. You know, and perhaps old connections are just falling away. And for some people it's going on in their primary relationships.
So to give this an optimistic roundup from the Sagittarian, while this year has been dramatic and we've seen a lot of things falling away, and we were just saying before how it's happened on the world stage and it's happened within us as well, but what's happening within us bounces back out into the world.
Absolutely, it
doesn't it? So we have to not forget, or have to remember that while we've been undergoing these changes while we're looking on to the world stage, but those, what would you say, post-traumatic growth syndrome that we've been going through has actually started to reverberate back out into society. Yes. And that's going to have a positive effect in so many ways that we cannot see yet.
That's right.
It's too early to see that. So
that's right.
Keep hopeful and positive, because eventually, I know that Aquarian energy is going to win out.
It's unstoppable.
Yes, it's going to happen.
It's cosmic, it's universal, it's unstoppable. Yeah. That's right.
We just have to endure the process for the next couple of years. few
That's
years.
right, and stay as conscious, as open as possible, and connected to the people that you do feel inspired by and connected with and uplifted with. And yeah, and I think that's, what you were saying there is great. It's that combination of, Neptune in Pisces with all this Sagittarius and Gemini is about having faith, remaining, staying informed, having faith and trust, uplifted, inspired, keeping, even though we might have to keep confronting dark, difficult stuff, all the time there's part of you that's got your eye on where we're going. That's where I'm at. I'm looking down dark corridors, because that's just how I am, but I got my eye on where we're going, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
what's
right.
coming. Yeah.
We've got to deal with what's here, but we're going there.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean...
We're certainly not going back.
No, and it doesn't mean that you don't speak up and voice your opinions about things. It doesn't mean you just keep quiet and let the planets do the work. They're going to do it, but at the same time you have to do the work yourself, because they're having that effect on us.
That's right.
That's inspiring us and challenging us to be authentic and in touch with what's going on inside us.
Really, and I've had a few conversations with people that have surprised me. People that I made certain assumptions about around certain issues, and I thought, I'm not even going to bring that up when I see them. I really care about this person. I'm not going to bring it up, and somehow the issue comes up because it's everywhere. It's in our... And suddenly we're having this conversation, and I'm going, wow, I didn't realise you were open to all of that, And so this is fantastic. Our assumptions are getting challenged and confronted, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then the opposite can also be true. People you think might be kind of on the same page of you, turns out they're not.
No, that's pretty surprising.
That can be a shock. Oh, really?
Oh,
it's all moving. It's moving. It's all this mutable energy of these mutable signs. Yeah.
Of course, the fixed signs will be having a hard time.
That's right.
But, what can you do?
That's right. That's right. It's very mutable. That's right.
Is that all we've got?
I think that's enough for now.
Yeah, I think so. So, wow, thanks so much for that.
Cheryl.
I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Me too.
Yes, and thanks everyone for joining us. If you've lasted this long, we'll be back in another 2 weeks, and we'll be talking about the next lunar cycle.
Yes, we will.
Yeah. So,
bye, everyone.
bye for now.
Hope that's helpful.